Welcome back, I'm Multeyemeteor. This is the second of my introduction videos for the Seasons of Llawyhn set that I've been making. A full set of magic cards that I've been working on for the past 6 months. If you saw the previous video, the introduction to the Vajivo, you kind of got the backstory of how I made, you know, like, or what I've been doing with this set, what it is, and so on. But I'm going to continue in this set to talk about a different nation and a different set of people called the Tirsha. Or the nation called the Tirsha, and the clavo called the Tirsh. Clavo being ethnicity or culture. So first of all, I just want to, because I wanted to get it out of the way early, because I didn't do that in the first video. All the card art you see in the cards is not made by me. It's made by different artists that I found their work online. And since I'm not making any money of this, I don't plan on exploiting their work in any way, shape, or form. I just borrowed it and I credited wherever I could see a name. Sometimes, especially in the beginning, not so much in the end. While making this set, I found pics on Google Images and couldn't after having searched and looked and so on, couldn't really find the artist behind the picture. And because in the beginning it was much more oriented towards me just messing around, I didn't really care to put that much time or effort into it, or to exchange the cards that had art from which artist I didn't know. You know what I'm saying. So at some point, if it becomes important, I will definitely do something about it, and I will definitely contact the artists and so on and so forth. But right now, just take a look at the cards and see what you get out of it. Anyways, yeah, the Tirsha is an interesting country, or which is built on. Well, let me say this. Llawyhn used to be something different, and in the next set, if I end up finishing it, I'm about a third or halfway into it, kind of. But it's going to be called Light of the Ancestors, and it's going to be Light of the Forgotten, and it's going to kind of tell the story about the story of the nations and the people that used to live there, and all the Banes and so on, before the times of the now, and the now being what's going on in this set, Seasons of Llawyhn. And Tirsha is built, or is kind of founded on an area of the continent where in experiments from the High Council of Llawyhn to kind of restrict magic, it's gone wild instead. It's gone completely wild, and it's not completely tameable. So while Tirsha has more wizards and magicians and people delving in those kinds of arts, it is still something that is frowned upon by the council, in which Tirsha or Tirsh is represented as one of the main council members alongside of Vajivo and Llawyhn. But it is something that people kind of think, people who are not Tirsh kind of tend to think that Tirsh might have had something to do with the whole thing exploding in their face. What's going on is that the elements have kind of gone wild. So instead of having a clear division, for example, between the ocean and the air, or oxygen, water and oxygen, there's kind of like a blurry divide, and it kind of facilitates flying machinery and all that kind of stuff, and all the natural raw energy that's set wild in the milieu, in the surroundings, have kind of let the Tirsh become, or it's giving the Tirsh a breeding ground for scientists and thinkers who want to play around with the energies and try to see if they can, use it, exploit these energies for science and for inventions and so on. So they have kind of like a mix between like a steampunk-ish science and magic. And something I didn't really talk about in the previous video is much more prevalent with Tirsh than with Vegevo, and that is that in this world, after this experiment occurred, a lot of there's these sources of raw magic, and sometimes they kind of take shapes in the form of natural, or something like that looks natural, like birds or fish or something, and I call those auga, auga, and it's basically what they are is like raw magic with a little bit of spirit to them. Like they is raw magic that's living in a sense. And Tirsh is one of the people that's really utilizing these. So you have, for example, a lot of game mechanic or a lot of the mechanics of Tirsh are centered around sacrificing auga or creating auga. For example, for like sacrificing auga and being able to force like an opponent to consider whether or not he wants to have his spells countered or lose life. That's a main theme of the Tirsh magic. Anyways, the Tirsh are a mix between, there's not really a main color. If there's a main color, it's blue, but aside from that, they are blue, red, and green. So that's kind of like the elemental colors. And they also have two protectorate people underneath them, which are the Carr, which are kind of like a tribal, barbarian, shamanistic people who are much more. They live in the wild, and they are masters of controlling the natural elements, like the natural, quote unquote, magically evolving wilds. That is the landscapes of Tirsh outside of the hovering citadels of for example, Aes, where which is the capital of Tirsh, and all the other cities which are either floating or somewhat, densely populated and filled with buildings and so on. Then Carr is kind of like the Seshvir of Tirsha, in a sense. And furthermore, Tirsha also protects somebody who the Vegevo is not very fond of, and that is the merfolk. They are mainly blue, but they also, the Carr are solely green and red in colors when represented in magic cards. The merfolk are blue mainly, but they also have both green and red, and that is to make them different and make for different kinds of and more interesting color combinations in terms of making merfolk decks. And that's to also, play with the idea that the colors are not, you shouldn't think of colors in this set in the traditional way. So, for example, green is community, lineage, and life, and red is vitality, energy, and spontaneity, and that gives for some different dynamics when you have merfolk, which are also like they're blue, red, blue, green, blue, red, green, whatever. Yeah. Anyways, there's also a. Let me talk a little bit about the mechanics of these clavo. The Tirsh uses they use flying as one of their mechanics. All the major clavos have two mechanics, while the minor ones usually only have one. The second one is one that they share with the Carr, and that's anticipation. And that's a new mechanic that I came up with, and it's kind of like Flash in a way, but not really. It's kind of like traps for creatures in a sense. So there's a condition that that allows you to play a creature. For example, let's find an example here. Like the bamboo cloak ranger, for example, is an example of an anticipation creature where you may play it as a 2-cost, a 2 green for a 2/1 creature, or you can play it for its anticipation cost. When when a creature your opponent controls is attacking, you may play Bamboo Cloak Ranger for its anticipation cost, and you pay it for 1 instead. And there's also other examples of creatures that has some pretty interesting anticipation costs here, as you'll see in. Or anticipation abilities, because it's not only about the casting cost. Sometimes it's also about an effect that triggers. And as you'll see in, I believe, the next video I'm making with the Xeno and the Shen, I'm reintroducing traps as a mechanic, and something that's I'm really focusing on making a lot of trap-oriented effects and abilities with the Shen. And this card, Void Explorer, has protection from traps, but furthermore she has an anticipation cost, which is very different from her main casting cost. Her main casting cost is 1 blue and 2 colorless, but her anticipation cost is 1 green, 1 red. And you can cast this if a player plays a trap spell, then Void Explorer can be casted for its anticipation cost, and you may counter that trap spell. So you have these kinds of combinations where I'm trying to come up with different ways of rethinking how the old keywords can be combined into something new, or can be made prevalent, or given a little bit more life again. Anyways, I'm not going to talk too much more about the Tirsh right now, other than their backstory is not very well known. It's more their recent history that people know them for. But some speculate that they come from a different empire, which is kind of true of all the big clavos or nations, that they come from empires that used to be slightly different, but they kind of like you see the lineage in a sense in their abilities, the game mechanics, but also in their colors and the way they think. But yeah, this is all I'm gonna say about the Tirsh at the present moment. I hope you liked it, and I hope you are willing to give me some insight into what you're thinking about these cards that I made and so on. And like I said in the previous video, I plan on making this available once it's been thoroughly tested, and people can play it for free, of course, for free in Cockatrice. And if there's enough people supporting it, I'll try to see if I can convert it into Apprentice if lots of people are playing using that platform. But yeah, so far we're testing it out in Cockatrice, and I haven't done a lot of testing with other people, but I have done some, and it's been really fun so far. We are thinking about also doing some sealed or either that or just regular drafting, just to to test the limits of this set. So yeah. Anyways, I hope you liked it. I'm Multeyemeteor. This was Seasons of Llawyhn, the introduction to the Tirsha nation and the Tirsh people. Later.